What's going on, guys? Back with another Sunday watch list. These are some things that I am noticing going into the following week. Let's start off with the economic data first. We have CPI on Tuesday and we have PPI on Thursday. Nothing much Wednesday. So those are going to be important catalysts to look for. Consumer sentiment. These 10 a.m. ones always pay attention to. It'll be 7 a.m. PSC. There usually is a reaction off of those. Starting off with SPY though. I do see a bearish divergence here. A bearish divergence is when the stock makes a higher high, but the RSI makes a lower high, which is a bearish divergence. Typically, there's reversals off those. And you can see Friday we came up to this 518 level, new all-time high, rejected, and we broke back below the previous all-time high, which was 514. Notice how this was a big turning point from last time. We got a big sell-off all the way down to 505, and we tried holding above it Friday, came back below, retested it, rejected it. So this 514 level, I'm going to be looking for rejections on SPY to see if we get a pushback down to this trend line. This trend line connects from down here, and the third touch should be around this 509, potentially like 510. So 508 is going to be a big level as well. This is a level that catches bounces. Looking for a rejection from here down to here. If the market opens up around this area, a break below 508 gets us down to 505. That is a nice move that I'm looking for. Not too interested in longs unless we start reclaiming like, this 518 really. 518. The daily candle looks very bearish as well. I want to see a bigger pullback. There was a lot of aggressive selling pressure on the downside on that daily candle. 4 hour as well, right? 508 is gonna be an important level too that tries to hold. But below that, we got 505. So pretty simple, despite it's kind of like a big rising wedge as well. I'm not trying to call out that we're gonna completely sell off completely, but I do want a bigger pullback. We got CPI coming up, so you don't want to swing nothing from Monday to Tuesday because you just never know what that CPI report will come out like, right? Starting off with the Qs, something interesting as well. This is also a bearish divergence where the stock makes a higher high, RSI makes a lower high. We got this trend line from like down here that connects to here. And then we have, right, this whole area up here would be my supply zone, kind of double topped up here. And we have like a demand zone right here that tries to hold up this 434 area. Does catch some nice bounces. It looks like we're headed straight towards that 440, 441 level. It's going to be a resistance as well. So main levels I'm interested in is this 434. I want to catch a reject from like 441, 442 to try to catch us down into 434. The reasoning why is because you could see that, we rejected from the highs, selling off, and the next target is basically the zone down here, this 434. Let's see if this trend line connects any lower. I think we should be good. But that trend line should correlate with that area. And this 441.76 is a resistance here, support here. So if we can come back and turn into resistance and catch a reject, that will get us a nice risk reward ratio back to the downside on Qs. Anything below that, Qs is going to have a lot of room to the downside. Back into 430 really. Yeah, like this 430 area. And back to these areas down here. So keep an eye on that for sure. Individual tickers, Apple is approaching a pretty big demand zone down here at 167, 166. Pretty big demand zone. Not my top setup, but we'll see how you can see clearly that this is a big reversal turning point that the market catches a bounce from to the upside. Apple's been, oversold. We'll see how Apple reacts in that zone. Names that I do like, my favorite one, it's going to be SMCI. It's going to be a little bit expensive, so if you're trading with a smaller account, wouldn't recommend this one. But this is a setup that I really like. We pushed towards highs. The previous all-time high was here at 1154. Notice how we rejected it, rejected it. Finally broke it Friday. Came to 1224, failed to hold, and we pushed all the way back down to 1100. We broke out of this rising wedge. This is also a bearish divergence where the stock makes a higher high and the RSI makes a lower high. So I am targeting 1000 this week for SMCI. I would like it below 1087. I'm going to go short to 1000. I really, really like this setup. If we can catch a reject from 1154, that would be great from a risk reward perspective. Keep stops above that area. That is my main watch. That is going to be my main watch. You can see that a lot of the semiconductors are weak as well, along with Qs and SPY. But NVIDIA caught a really huge sell-off. Um, it was really got room down to 832. We'll see how it reacts at 832, which is the previous zone down here that tries to hold up. 832, anything below that. This could really have a lot of room down below that 832 down into pretty much 800. Psychological 800 and then 774. But we have to see how CPI comes out. If these do continue to show weakness. AMD is coming down to psychological 200 level. I am definitely seeing a lot more downside on these names, to be honest. I can see a lot more downside for these names. I definitely think AMD is going to come and retest 200. So reject around 210 to 207. I want to get the exact level, but it'll be like around this 207, 210 area for a reject. I'll narrow it down in the morning, but a push down to 200. We'll see how 200 reacts for either a bounce or a break and retest below. For the most part, it's looking a lot weaker. Definitely want to get a retest of that 200, see how we react there. Other than that, Tesla's very weak as well. Trying to get back below at 175. This one's very weak, right? Could have a lot of room down. In the daily, this looks like it has potential room down into 163, 163, 160 for the week. The names I'm watching. Microsoft is still in this head and shoulders from last week. See, right? We have a left shoulder, we have a head, and the right shoulder here at this 416 still hasn't broken down or still hasn't broken above that 416 right shoulder. So it's still valid, right? You want for rejections, you would look for that 416 area again, but this could really push down to 400. So below this recent demand 396, that opens the door for 385. If this Microsoft breaks down, if it breaks to the upside, then back into highs, right? Off of that trend line. So I'd wait for a break and retest of the trend line for upside and below this 396 for downside. That's going to be my main setup for Microsoft. Other than that, I really just like SPY Qs. And of course, my top setup is going to be SMCI. It's a little bit more expensive, but this is a setup that I think can really just, be one and done for the week if it plays out. So see how that one goes into Monday. Meta's approaching this trend line. As if this meta can stay below 505, you can short this potentially down into like 494. If this trend line breaks, it opens the door for 488. So I am kind of like leaning to the downside for the most part this week. Things can change if CPI reports, depending on the reaction off of those reports, but keep it fairly simple. I like those setups to the downside. I think we have much better risk reward to the downside. At the highs, it's always like in discovery mode, trying to find that next level. So the bigger the pullback, the better opportunity we'll have to look for long entry opportunities, which on SPY I believe is going to be 503. 503 because that was a previous all-time high here. And we never really retested it, right? You can see here what happened here. Huge rejection here, huge rejection. We broke above that all-time high and we retested, but we didn't retest exactly here. We retested a little bit above that 503 level. So I'd like to see that 503 level come back and get retested. So these are the zones on SPY I'm gonna be watching. I'd like to catch a move down and see how we react down here. But other than that, that's gonna be the Sunday watch list. Really pretty simple, short and simple. So I hope you guys all have a great trading week.